Can you very briefly, that's the first question, very briefly define the claim of evolution, what the evolution theory claims? That's one. Two, can you state the evidence that evolutionists claim supports their theory? Third and last, what is your argument against each piece of evidence that evolutionists use to prove their theory?
Fair enough. So let's look at their primary claim. Okay? We talked about what is the definition of evolution in the first part, which is essentially just change in frequency of alleles in reproductive population. So this definition is not important to me because we have argued that the definition is too big. It encompasses under it so many things that it is hijacking, so that the part that does not make sense has a legitimacy umbrella. Okay, so I'm not going to argue the definition because the definition does not make sense. Not because the definition is false, but because the definition is too big. But the main claim, so just again to be very sure of what we're talking about, adaptation is okay, inheritance is okay, obviously response to stress is okay, breeding is okay, genetics is okay. All of those are testable, observable, repeatable, they produce predictions, but they do not need to sit under the umbrella of this imposter theory that is called the theory of evolution. Why? Because this is the main claim of the theory. Here is where the meat is. Here's the hardcore of the theory. That all life can be traced back to a first common ancestor. And this first common ancestor is a unicellular organism, billions of years ago. And that the process that took life from this common ancestor called LUCA, the last universal common ancestor, beyond LUCA, everything is coming from LUCA. Okay? There is something before LUCA, but the theory doesn't talk about it. The theory doesn't know.
Can't explain it.
Or not interested to explain. Abiogenesis talks about some of this stuff. But let's start from LUCA. So the assertion of the theory is, or the conclusion of the theory is, starting from LUCA, you can explain everything through mechanical processes. The four that we talked about are okay, but they cannot produce what the theory claims. Because no matter how you adapt,
you're not going to grow gills.
Yeah. No matter how you adapt your lungs, you're not going to grow gills. No matter how you adapt, you're not going to sense using electrical waves like some sharks do. All right? We do not have radio antennas. And hence, the trick that the theory puts in the formula is that genetic material changes through random mutations. Okay?
Unintentional.
It's random, and randomness produces so many outcomes. The vast majority of them is rubbish and goes away, and the very few that are beneficial are selected by natural selection to progress through generations, and this produces the innovative aspect of life. There is an innovative aspect of life, right or not? So you have this pine tree or this palm tree that is in this garden. The theory says that this palm tree and you and me share the same common ancestor.
LUCA.
LUCA. Yes. So we can trace back at one node of the tree an ancestor that is maybe LUCA or something else, okay? That is the grandfather of you and me and the palm tree. This is what the theory says. They have the audacity to say this. Not just that you are related to mice and flies and bees and lizards, but that there is actually a common ancestor that is my and your grandparent, and also of the grass and the yeast and the palm tree and bananas, okay, and the cat and the dog, okay. So there is obviously innovations in the palm tree that are not in the human beings. So how does a palm tree or a plant survive? It does photosynthesis. You put it in the sun, and it's directly using sunlight to manufacture, to store energy, take energy from the sunlight and store it into a usable form. And we do not do that. All right? So the plant will take very simple materials from the soil, and it makes those materials into more complex compounds by having this extraction mechanism that is found in the chloroplasts that absorbs the energy of the sun and hence produces complexity from simplicity. We do the other way around. We eat those plants, and we take the complex compounds that are there and we re-extract this energy from them. So we are the exact opposite of what the plant does. Right?
Okay. I'm going to take this as the answer to my first question. So let's take this as this is what evolutionists claim.
Yeah. So the claim is life is a tree, started somewhere, and all of those innovations that are very obvious to everybody, including evolutionists, are there because randomness is innovative and nature is selective.
Okay. That's the first question. The second question was, what's the evidence that evolutionists put forth to prove this claim?
Good. So the evidence will be different according to what you're looking at. Okay? So the evidence range from no evidence whatsoever, complete nonsense, okay, to evidence that look like evidence but are not evidence. So there is a big spectrum. So let's take one that I really like, and let's see this great capability of the human being to advocate false things, okay, in an audacious way, in a confident way, to the extent that an ignorant or a gullible listener will not even consider that you're falsifying things, because you're saying it, this guy who's a PhD or a Nobel laureate, or right, saying this very audaciously. So we start with the LUCA. And the LUCA is a very simple cell. All right. So the most simple cells we see around us are a kind of cells called prokaryotes. So it has a membrane and it has some materials inside, but it's living. It's living. And a prokaryote is not so complex. It does not have organelles inside. Okay. So it's like an apartment that has an open area inside. No compartmentalization of things. So it's like one mixed-use space. Yeah, mixed-use space. You like this because it's more relevant to your architectural discipline. So, but there is the equipment of the kitchen. There's this and that. So there is the genetic material, and there is what life needs. But it is not. And then there is another type, which is the eukaryotes, which is a more complex kind of cell. So you find organelles inside.
Now we have bedrooms and
yeah, so you have this engine, you have this generator, for example, that generates the energy. It's called mitochondria. Okay. In plants you have the chloroplasts, etc. So how did this transition occur? In a eukaryote, for example, you have the genetic material, but genetic material is housed inside a nucleus. There is a body of material, and this is another wall inside, and this wall is called the nucleus, and it has these perforations, and the perforations are engineered perforations. Those holes will allow some things to come out and allow some things to come in a very magnificent way. It's very obvious. So how come you start from something that's a mixed use area, okay, and you have this eukaryote thing?
So far, you're talking claims. You're not talking evidence.
No, these are facts. So we have prokaryotes and we have eukaryotes. These are just facts.
No, what I mean is.
So the claim is that LUCA, which was something like a prokaryote, we don't know what LUCA is.
Right.
This cell that is called LUCA is not there. You cannot tell me that this specific organism that is.
LUCA itself is a claim.
LUCA itself is a claim. Okay. It doesn't exist. So the question is, why doesn't it exist? It's not clear. Why is the common ancestor of life, which should be very versatile, right or not? It's the common ancestor of life.
Right.
Everything came out of it. Okay? Why is it extinct exactly? So it's a very big question mark. And this is not only applicable to LUCA. It's applicable to almost every common ancestor that the theory claims. So it will tell you, for example, the common ancestor of human beings and chimpanzees is the same creature. Where is it? Extinct. Why? The common ancestor between the humans and the chimpanzees and the gorillas is this one. Where is it? Extinct. Why? Every single common ancestor is an empty node. There's nothing in there.
So these are the claims.
Yeah. So number one, you always have this mysticism.
So
all right?
There's no evidence.
So the organisms that you are saying are the ancestors are almost always not there. To the extent that almost every creature that is on the face of this earth today is referring to an extinct ancestor. So
let me stop you for just 1 second. You said earlier that LUCA is a claim, right? What's the proof? What's the evidence that LUCA existed?
There is no evidence. This is the claim of the theory.
So this theory has no evidence to prove it? I mean, it's just a hypothesis then? I mean, is there any...
It is a hypothesis from my and your point of view, but for the theory, it's a fact. Why is it a fact? Because they will tell you, for example, okay, so LUCA was there, LUCA changed, and there is prokaryotes.
No, wait.
Yeah.
Still, all of this is a claim.
It's a claim, yes, of course.
I'm still looking for any kind of evidence that LUCA existed. Any kind of evidence that LUCA transformed or evolved or developed.
There is no evidence because there is no LUCA. How now?
So what? So what's the basis of their claim? What are they? What is this based on?
I would like some of those great PhDs that speak and write books to tell me what are the basis.
So it's just so hypothetical, and they're just.
It is hypothetical because they would look at fossils, for example.
Okay, yeah, give me something.
Okay,
yeah.
and they will tell you that there is this gradient of complexity. Okay, if you go back in 500 million years, 540 million years, there is marine life. After that, you will find amphibians. After that, you will find terrestrial life. You will find avians. You will find and then you will find few millions years ago you'll find human beings, etc. They say, I don't believe it, but hominins or humanoids of some sort, Homo erectus stuff. All right. So there is this gradient of complexity. So what happens when you have a gradient of complexity?
So let's just stop there for a second. So this gradient of complexity is based on fossils.
It's based on fossils.
And this is probably their biggest evidence that they use to prove.
Yes.
Right? That's basically it. There's nothing else.
But then we need to understand what is evidence.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
Let me just
yeah.
get to
yeah,
my
sure.
question.
Sure.
So they have fossils that go back to millions and millions of years, and they have observed that these fossils have a gradient of complexity that corresponds with time. Is this right? So the further back in time you go, the less complex the organisms are. Is this am I being accurate here?
So you go it goes less complex, okay? And there is also what you can say is a functional gradient. Okay? So you have things that are swimming. Okay? And then you have things that are amphibian. So the function of being able to live in water and on land starts to appear. And then you have things that are completely terrestrial. Okay? And then you have things that are terrestrial and they have feathers and they use them, to run faster or something. And then they are using them to fly. So, okay, so there is also this, there is a gradient of complexity and there is a gradient of functionality too. To be fair to what is the observation, this is the observation. And then if you go farther back enough, you do not find any complex creatures at all. You find marine life that is like fluffy things, okay? These mollusks that are stuck to rocks, kind of thing, okay? Crawling on the sea floor, kind of thing. You go further back, so this is like in the Ediacaran age. And then in the Cambrian, there is this Cambrian explosion, which is, you have all these marine life that is springing into existence. And if you go back before the Ediacaran, then there is nothing. There is just unicellular life. Okay? You go further back, there is nothing at all. Okay? So you have this 4 billion years of the age of Earth, and then you have like 1 billion where nothing is happening. Maybe the environment, according to the claim of the theory, was not suitable for having any life at all, and then life starts to appear, and then life starts to get more complicated, and then innovations and functions start appearing, and then you start having plants, and then you start having animals, and etc. So this is the observation. This is the observation, that there is a gradient of complexity.
Everything else about evolution is just a way of explaining this gradient in a way that makes sense to them.
Yes.
And at the same time eliminates God from the equation.
The theory of evolution is the scientific theory of evolution, and by definition of science, it cannot include God.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So, to be fair to the theory, it is not like the theory has an objective of eliminating God.
Okay.
The theory is a scientific theory.
Yeah.
So, offering God as an answer is not within the domain of any scientific theory. Okay? What a scientific theory can say is, or what science can say is, I offer you this explanation or there is no explanation. It cannot say, I am offering you that God did it. It can lend you that there is no explanation, and then you say that God did it, using logic or axiomatic thinking. Okay? So, for example, the biological theory of evolution stops at LUCA, right? And then you ask the question, how did LUCA come into existence? How did life come into
LUCA
existence?
existed to begin with.
Of course. This is a question, because you're asking about a LUCA that has never been demonstrated.
Yeah.
Okay? And there is no fossil for LUCA, of course.
Yeah.
Okay? And there is no fossil for whatever comes before LUCA. Okay?
And probably what comes after LUCA also. I don't know how.
Of course. There is a very big gap.
Yeah.
Because since you don't know LUCA, you don't know how many stages did LUCA go through to become something that you have now. It's complete guesswork. Okay? So the foundation of the theory is mythology. There's nothing there. And then you move one step forward. So the claim is there is this gradient, right? Because you have those random events that are taking place, and random events, there are so many of them, they happen during reproduction, and then 1 out of a million random bad things, this one thing is good. So this one thing is maintained, and then it takes some time, and then there is 1 of a million new thing that's good, and then it's maintained, etc. So you start from a very simple thing with a little innovation, and there, according to this theory, there cannot be any jumps, right or not? There cannot be any jumps.
I have no idea.
Yes, because there are very small incremental changes. Because if you are asking for chance,
if you're talking about something that's random, then what's to stop it from having a jump if it's random?
Okay, so you are throwing cards in the air.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and those cards fall. So every once in a while, 2 cards will come like this, and they will stand. And then you're continuing to throw, and all the cards are falling, and then it will take quite some long time so that 2 other cards come like this, and beside the first 2 cards. So you have 2 like this and 2 like this, and then it will take so much more time that another one comes like this.
Yes. Okay.
But something else can happen, that this one that tries to come like this breaks everything else.
And you have to start over.
And you start over.
Yeah.
So the whole aspect of randomness is completely insane. But the minimum that you can accept, that it has to be very slow and very incremental and very gradual, right or not? Because otherwise you're completely insane. If you say that you throw the cards in the air and they will fall, creating a house of cards. Okay, now we do not want to deal with insane people. Okay, if you're completely insane, go home. All right, but okay, let's entertain you that very small incremental coincidences will be captured by natural selection because they give survival advantages.
And I'm not a mathematician, but it seems to me that the more complex things get, the lower the probability
Absolutely.
goes, because it's a multiplier.
Now think of the house of cards thing.
Yeah.
So the first 2, okay, there's nothing else, so maybe 2 will
might happen.
Yeah, might happen.
Yeah.
But then what's the odds that another 2 happen? And those 2 are just beside the first 2.
Close enough for another card to come back.
And then the 5th one will come. Okay. Now what if you have built the first floor and you're in the second floor? Now what is the odds of, standing on top?
I think it just goes to 0. There's no. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when you take those claims and you start doing mathematics, it's just funny. I laugh.
Yeah.
And I had so many discussions with people who are doing these calculations using.
It has to go to 0, right? I mean,
It does go to 0
There's no
immediately.
other way. Yeah.
Immediately it goes to 0 after very few iterations.
Yeah, makes sense.
And so if you're telling me that this is happening, give me a break. Please bring your calculator and a piece of paper, and I'll show you that it is false immediately.
Okay.
Okay? But then you find the theory when you start going a little bit ahead, a little bit farther than LUCA, which is a mythology, and then you go, okay, so you have those prokaryotes running around. Okay, prokaryotes are very simple. So how come we have eukaryotes? And eukaryotes are amazingly complex. It's unbelievable how complex a eukaryote is.
And they exist today.
Of course, we are eukaryotes. Our cells are eukaryotic cells. And prokaryotes exist today too. So, how does this theory explain the emergence of eukaryotes? Is it through those random incremental mutations that are there? No, it is not. Because the sheer complexity of the eukaryotes, which was discovered when you put things in action like electron microscopes and you look at the molecular level, it's impossible that this happens this way. It is complete systems. A complete system cannot emerge by incremental things because there is an aspect of irreducible complexity. When there is a receiver and a transmitter and a signal, okay, so if the receiver comes by accident, then it will go away because there is no transmitter to take from it. So why will natural selection favor its existence? Nobody is listening. All right? So you have this crazy theory about a prokaryote wandering around, finding another prokaryote that it eats. It eats it. It engulfs it. And when the other one goes inside, it doesn't digest it. It becomes part of it. And over millions and millions of...
And all of this is hypothetical. None of this is
Of course. Over millions and millions of years, or some kind of crazy figure, this newly engulfed new cell becomes the mitochondria. Or becomes the chloroplast. And then extrapolating this crazy idea that has no proof whatsoever, that the eukaryotes having all those organelles, that all those organelles were at a point of time other independent creatures that some cell millions and billions of years ago has eaten, and instead of digesting it, like what all cells do, it became part of it. They call this endosymbiosis. As human beings, we have endosymbiosis inside us. We have bacteria in our gut that serves us. But are those bacteria part of our body? Is it part of the human being, or it is a different creature? You don't get to eat somebody and he becomes your hand. This is the kind of stupid, totally insane and absurd stuff that the theory will over and over again, because random mutations, yeah, because it's impossible, because even their basic assertion that random mutations and natural selection will generate innovation and complexity, when you hit that much complexity, you can't claim that this is what happened, and then you go into those absurd things.